My name is Rich Honeyball, and I'm the Chief Merchandising and Marketing Officer for the Navy Exchange Service Command. I'm also an MBA candidate from the Raymond A. Mason School of Business here at the College of William and Mary. It is my pleasure today to introduce you to my wicked problem and offer for your consideration a potential solution that I've worked on over the last 21 months, drawing lessons from each course and input from various peers and professors. Now, at first glance, this solution may seem wicked in and of itself, an overreaching proposal that could prove to be daunting. And some might say that it would be easier to take a specific element of this plan and dive deeper into the specific elements of it. However, I would argue that without understanding the end game, without understanding the bigger picture of what we're trying to achieve, we would likely run off course and risk failure. So let's get started. The retail industry is changing at a rapid pace. Today's consumers are spending less on stuff while spending more on experiences, on their homes, and on what matters to them most. They're demanding more for their money, including personalized products and services and the ability to shop 24/7. To compete, e-commerce retailers like Amazon are investing in bricks and mortar with their purchase of Whole Foods. Physical stores like Walmart are expanding their digital presence, as they did with the purchase of Jet.com. Brands like Nike are going direct to consumer, and some retailers are even stretching beyond their core competency, like CVS acquiring Aetna and Kohl's leasing space to Aldi and Planet Fitness. In the face of this perfect storm, legacy retailers who have failed to invest in their stores, technology, and their overall experience are closing at a record pace. They're losing touch with their core customers and failing to capture the millennials and now the Gen Z customers that are at the forefront of this shift. So, my wicked problem. As a retailer that sits within a military and government agency, heavily regulated, bureaucratic, and risk-adverse, how can we compete and keep pace with our mission of providing quality and value to our military patrons as we have over the last 73 years? How can we close the gap and ensure that we remain relevant? Now, brands like IKEA have faced this challenge, and they have reinvented the retail space, focusing not just on products and price, but on their overall experience. The first store that they opened up here in the U.S. market offered not only inexpensive and functional furnishings for the home, but also a taste of Sweden, their $5.99 Swedish meatball lunch special, and the now famous kids' play area with the ball pit that had families driving for miles and lining up for hours because their kids demanded to go. They made little bets, as Sims discussed in his book, listening to their customers and being willing to be curious. They evolved from simply being a retailer to being an experience where customers could come, have fun, have lunch, and maybe buy a few things in the process. So my wicked solution to the wicked problem is to create a process and culture of customer-focused innovation that is accepted within a heavily regulated and risk-adverse environment. This solution, however, is not where I started. This statement, framing my initial approach, was inspired by the book Little Bets. And I want to read this to you. By incorporating the IDEO design thinking process into our merchandising and marketing functions, we can encourage more time spent on identifying and addressing customer needs and behaviors. We can test small, fail quick, and adapt our thinking into being a more nimble and responsive organization. Originally, I stopped here, thinking that the design process was what I wanted to focus on. But what became apparent is that this will require a culture shift, and it will require building in efficiencies that can free the team up to be able to demonstrate, brainstorm, innovate, and focus on the customer more. This is an important aspect of the plan. If we were simply to go to the team and say, think of the customer more and develop this design thinking mentality, they would come back and say, we'd love to, but we don't have the bandwidth to be able to do it. So we have to build the proper foundation for that. And that's what I'd like to discuss next. The foundation that we're building is on four pillars: culture, focus, education, and metrics. For culture, how do we create, inspire, and support a culture that drives customer-focused innovation, encouraging associates to reach beyond where we are now? How do we create a culture of trust that encourages associates to work together more productively? From a focus perspective, how do we drive towards relentless focus, ensuring that all oars are rowing in the same direction? Ensure that all are included and invested in the strategy that will help drive the organization forward and provide greater focus and clarity within the teams and the individual positions. From an education and training perspective, how do we educate and inform our associates to make better decisions, to better understand the results and impact of their actions, and how do we give them the skills to do it, while also allowing them insights as to the other aspects of the company organization that may be in play and may impact their job performance, but they might not be aware of. And then finally, metrics. How do we test, measure, and quickly react to what is successful? How do we learn from failure quickly and effectively so that we can recover, react, and respond? And how do we ensure that we have access to the best data as flexible as possible so that we can make these decisions easier for our teams? Let's look first at culture. A company's culture is the foundation for future innovation. A leader's job is to build that foundation. This is from Brian Chesky, the co-founder and CEO of Airbnb. There are 4 key initiatives here. The first one is strengthening our organizational vision. We believe that this will energize our mission and better connect the organization both as a driving force in this process as well as a rally cry for us. The plan, and we've already put it into action, is to bring together a cross-collaborative team to help refine and better define our organizational vision, which in our case is Mission U. We're proud of the fact that we'll be able to relaunch this in the next couple of months, and we want this to be ingrained in everything that we do. Second, re-envisioning our enterprise-wide recruiting and onboarding program. We need to recruit not only for skills, but to better support our evolving culture so that we're growing leaders from the ground up. This includes better messaging and utilizing multiple platforms, including social and video engagement. Think less of having manuals and 3-day PowerPoint sessions and more about having video and social tools and engagement over the course of time that allows someone to interact how and when they want, much in the same way we expect our customers to. Third, how do we realign our company recognition, including compensation, to our goals? If we're all incentivized and recognized for different metrics, we can't expect everybody to be rowing in the same direction. This is a process that hasn't started yet, but is critical to success. And then finally, how do we grow our leaders? How do we teach and encourage leadership through inclusion? This includes following up with strategy workshops that allow teams, as well as cross-functional groups, to come together in a collaborative way to build strategies. One of the things I'm excited about is a lesson that I learned from my MBA residency on inclusion in leadership. And this is something that we'll be bringing to my direct reports and our direct leaders in June. Our next focus is focus. Yogi Berra once said, if you don't know where you're going, you might wind up someplace else. And I think while I'm using and classing yoga, this can implicate those that don't have a clear direction or focus. So our first goal is to establish a strategic planning board. We have several boards that run facilities, IT, investment, and compensation, several of which I sit on. And these are key elements to our culture. The establishment of a strategic planning board would align our executive sponsors with a charter, with votes, and with the ability to prioritize what our strategies are going to be and how we're going to utilize our resources. This will enable us to connect the dots across organizations, across the different groups, to make sure that we have our resources properly deployed and that we all understand what the overall objectives are. Second to that will be evolving our strategic development process. As executives, we need to consider strategies that have been developed from the ground up. So we need the teams to be able to have a better process to be able to work on these and to be able to elevate them. Third, conduct process improvement initiatives. These CPI events in key functional areas will help us to better understand the working processes, the systems issues and opportunities, and how we can streamline or eliminate non-essential functions. I mentioned in my opening that if you ask the team if we wanted to focus more on customer innovation, they would agree, but they would say we simply don't have the bandwidth to do so. This particular initiative would allow us to gain some of that efficiency and some of that bandwidth that we need. And then finally, better define the organizational and team structure, as well as refine position descriptions. Frankly, we have position creep. And this is due for a lot of reasons. If I don't understand what the right side and the left side is doing, or there is a lack of organizational trust, then I may take on more than I can handle at the expense of doing my own job. By better defining the organizational structure and the position descriptions, we feel that we can address that. This is a project that's been going on for about a year now and will take some time as it is an evolutionary process. Third, education. And I love this quote from Michelangelo. I am still learning, as is evident by the fact at age 50 I am getting my MBA. The first thing we need to do is conduct a skills assessment gap. We did this in one of our functional areas, and we were shocked to learn that we have over 20 different systems that are being used. And in many cases, these are legacy systems that were due to be retired, so we no longer train on them, yet they're essential to the day-to-day operations of this group. So by conducting a skills assessment gap, one of the things that we can do is discover where we need to better train our associates and better support them. Second, how do we re-platform our associate engagement tools? Right now, we reach our associates in a more traditional manner. We need to be able to retool our communication so that we can engage with 14,000 associates around the world and make them feel more connected to the culture. Third is enhancing our Merchandising 101 training series for our internal stakeholders. And while this means skill training directly for marketing and merchandising, which is what I'm responsible for, it also means inviting other departments to educate us on what they do, because having that knowledge is critical to building a more collaborative and trustworthy culture. And then finally, establishing new training positions within key areas. Right now, we train with the use of SMEs, subject matter experts. We take the best and the brightest and we layer on the additional responsibility of training. So what we're looking at doing is repurposing a couple of positions to be full-time trainers that can both develop the content and work to help make sure that we're training to the right processes, we're training consistently, and we're supporting the teams. Finally, metrics. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle once said, "I never guess. It is a capital mistake to theorize before one has data. Insensibly, one begins to twist facts to suit theories instead of theories to suit facts." And I think that speaks to what we see on a day-to-day basis within our organization. The first and most critical part of our strategy is advancing our business intelligence capabilities. We, like many organizations, have a lot of different systems that don't necessarily connect and talk to each other, and we need to connect the dots more. Right now, we're working with a consultant, and we've been able to gain some useful knowledge, and within a year, we hope to have a permanent BI solution that connects the dots between all of our various systems. We need to establish cross-enterprise KPIs so that we're all working together. And this has to go beyond just as to the point of developing a new company performance dashboard, sales and profit metrics. We need to incorporate customer acquisition, engagement, and other measures that we all understand. And then finally, we need to develop a strategic planning metric and analytics template so that when people are developing strategies, they're bringing the right facts to the table. This is critical if we're going to succeed. So in the Wicked solution, design-based thinking can help our mission-driven organization to better serve our customers. However, for this process to work, we must first address the following areas: our culture, developing associates with improved education, improve our ability to focus on what matters most, and understanding the metrics and being able to have access to the metrics and the analytics that we'll commonly use to measure progress. We think by building these four foundational elements that we can then layer on design-based thinking and ensure that we can connect better with our consumer. And I know this is a little bit of an eye chart, but I want you to take a look at what our current state is versus what our future state is. Our current state, individuals who are passionate about serving customers but overwhelmed with day-to-day operations. A culture that is cumbersome with processes and risk-adverse. Silo-driven mentality within key departments where projects are prioritized within groups. A recognition system, both formal and informal, that values a get-it-done entrepreneurial spirit, but sometimes without seeking partnerships. And an organization rich with history and experience and opinions, but devoid of accessible and cross-reference data. Where do we want to get to? Individuals and teams who are passionate about serving customers and with the tools and bandwidth to more effectively serve them. A culture that with efficient processes, improved tools, and better communication is motivated and encouraged to take calculated risks. A customer-driven focus within key departments where projects are prioritized by understanding the enterprise strategies. A recognition system, both formal and informal, that values teamwork, innovation, and an entrepreneurial spirit while encouraging partnerships along the way. And finally, an organization rich with history, experience, and opinions supported by accessible, cross-reference data with less time spent building reports and more time actually spent analyzing the reports. And we believe by doing this, we will be able to drive customer-focused innovation and better fulfill our mission going forward. Thank you very much.